for and then so you're welcome to Benghazi TV. Chat room with Benghazi, and now we have a very special guest who will share his life experiences with us. Growing up, how it was for him, and what he's into, how I'll get to this stage. This is to motivate all of us to aspire to achieve as he has in his very early or young years. Nipa mekana say me, uko an alba into academia, or what I would describe as a stalwart. Uko into sports on swa, wajini din pa ye. And I'm sure you're wondering how one person can combine the two, academia and sports, and now football especially. And then you'll find out how his life has been so far in these two great fields that Nina Otimi achieve in life. If I can ask me, Unim Gusa Games. Games are a course between universities at Ghana and Hanum. Watching it in say for 3 consecutive or 3 years, or Bogusa Games, one goal king, he won 3 times. He was a goal king in the Gusa Games. A show how he was as a footballer, striker. I go party, no friend Yagro. Do you know, sir, Nipa Mekana Semi Kotoko and nay Meno ye dear Chradebia Kobe on your opportunity to play for the fabulous side. You can imagine, so that's how far he went with his sporting side. Eba addition Munsua and Eminoka say, our special record. Oko KNUST, he is the youngest professor at KNUST. So to tell you what I'm talking about here, Nipa Bakwa, sports, football, or Jenny Dean, eba addition Munsua, what Jenny Dean pay. Nene, your guest on Chat Room with Benghazi, and none other than Professor Michael Poku Buency. Send me can no. KNUST, what Jenny Dean per year, and I can't say the Masuya was Suya Quachri per year. Karen Minoka say, Assistant Director, our graduate school, KNUST, formerly known as head of the department, air planning department. Our guest again tonight or today on Benghazi TV is Professor Michael Poku Buency. Prof, an honor for us to meet you tonight and have a chat with you. How is everything going?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm grateful, but to say the least, I would want to say that I'm honored to have you, and life has been very good to all of us. You can see very strong and healthy doing what I'm supposed to do, and I'm very grateful for that opportunity.
Prof, one person, you're back in academics are fantastic, brilliant. You're back into sports and football, like I was saying in the intro, Goal King, Gusa Games 3 times. Manyanti, even back then, from junior high school days, senior high school, Nina, now Bono, how did you manage to combine these two, sports and the academics?
They made to my kind of say, growing up, I was born in the barracks, so I had a father who said you also saw the same baby. Okay, I expect to say so. We a student. Your first priority your books. And I say we make sure say, what do I do? I'm finding serious. Not on fact. I mean, and I keep on telling friends also say, I didn't start as a bright student. Okay. My late mom used to laugh at me, say, there was one exam, I think I was the last but one in the class. Now me buy field, me buy na me catch up so my nyadi, and they were all laughing at me in Nema. But I believed in the fact that even though I'm younger, I'm now for more class now. It's not saying I what I'm supposed to do, but now I've grown it also. And I could be go through that phase. Now grown it also. My person could to me coming in now for work could grow at the expense of my class assignments to them. Until my dad called me and told me, say, it's either I concentrate on my studies or he's not going to allow me to be involved in sports. I see. So then I had to find a way to do that. And what I just strategy I'm picky is what has probably brought me this far. I tried not to combine both. Okay. And to say, if I have time to study, I say me making sure say 2 hours, I will stick to it. And back in the secondary school, say even if I have 5 minutes to end my studies, now my friend is young field. Okay. I'll make sure that I've exhausted that 5 minutes and sana. Of course, it's something home. And in doing so, I realized I became more organized in the MA. I never really appreciated that until almost when I was finishing my first degree in Michia Professor Bako I thought that I had lived that all my life. I didn't really know. Say, when you see two people and one is successful, it doesn't mean that God likes the successful person more than the one who is not successful. I mean, His grace is for everybody. But then, the one who is more organized, the one who plans his life very well, invariably ends up getting better results. Or catch them and say, when you are properly organized, it will be seen in whatever you do. And also, I mean, I try to make sure that I combine my academic life with my other social life. And I think that is what has helped me up to this point.
Very interesting, Prof. We'll get into the academic side of WO, but let's do a bit of your sporting side and now football. Meaning, football now you school. Was there any other?
I was part of the Pope John, for example. I was part of their 4x100 team.
Okay, relay team.
Yes, relay team. At the university, Unity Hall, I was part of their relay team. Okay. I used to play basketball, but I wasn't that good. But volleyball, I was good. Okay. So it was athletics, volley, and then soccer. So those were the games that I was involved in.
Wow. So if you thought it was just football, and now you know it was not just about football. Athletics, he was a sprinter in a 4x1 relay team of KNUST and then Pojoba, he is a Pojoba. He was in and also volleyball, he was very good at it, and a bit of basketball. So one person, Prof, basketball, kakra, athletics, very good, football, volleyball, and certain academics. Prof, yamfa sports kakra. How did you discover, say, some talent for football and now say the other sports?
For football, those who know Barracks very well, we were there, we had a very big compound away in Nimpo, and so Yapon school in a and so I am quite able, then people will pass comments, oh, we are do what you say is good and all of that. So that was at the very basic primary level. So people began talking about the way I play. I didn't even know, say, exceptional. It's just I would grow. But then they realized that it was exceptional. They started talking about it and all of that. But primary school, growing up, there is this ex-soldier who passed on, Staff Sergeant Tete, and may he so rest. We don't know a coach, so he started forming a soccer team at Barracks, bringing Inkwalana and Ebobo together. And I remember my dad telling me, he said, he said, Nebabo boy, he never believed, because no one said Nebabo boy that. I didn't see my playing as exceptional. It's just so the mechanic, grow. So when we got the soccer team, then we got somebody who was now coaching us. So then the drills, the other things, that discipline also started say, put in us. Who said my colleagues now more or less appreciate what I do. Say born and and all of that. So they really started encouraging me. from primary school, na me born from upper primary school team, na me born kakaka, and I was part of the barracks team, so soccer team, and our form. So we used to go to Momuni Mishakam where there is a Kakasunanka, which they had local teams, so that's how it started. And then when I got to the JSS, I know some about Shaiman number 4. We had a cluster of schools, number 4. So there too, I was part of the team and we were playing. And I took football to be a serious thing along those lines, During me VHS and secondary school, there was this a big brother I call. He's called Bonnie. He was working with this Salesians. Salesians is a society of the Catholic. They were picking street children. So I became part of them. And we go to the streets of Ashama, Tema, to look for street children. They encourage them. We're using sports. So the idea was to use sports to get them off the streets. Also for me, team. And then I was made a member of the team. So whilst I go school, the idea was that I encourage boys to also come. So we had a good team. And we had German volunteers who were coming to support them. I just got to know about 6-7 months ago, so one of the coaches who came at that time, young guys who were in an internship, is now a lecturer in one of the universities in Germany, University of Passau, and we are working on the same project together. We are doing a research on migration. Okopeja at the end of mobile, and then we became interested as more like somebody is organizing what we do and all of that. I think it's where I began taking football, they are serious. Yes, people. So our team was doing very well. We registered, I think, same second or third division, whatever. And I was playing. Because school, then I play. Then whilst in secondary school too, we started playing. Yes, Pope John. So when I got there, again for first year, Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, I was part of the school team. Eastern Region Milo. We won it. Hackman, the MP, former MP Hackman, he organized a competition, and I got the goal and I got the best player at the time. And in Tijuana, even though I was doing that, and I think I became a school prefect at Prof John because of that.
So you became a school prefect at Prof John?
Yes, because of my sports. In primary, I was assistant school prefect. JSS, I was assistant school prefect. Wow. When I got to Prof John, I became the school prefect. And the reason why I became a school prefect was because there were few of us who contested. Prof John, you contest, you do a campaign and all of that. The day that we were supposed to vote, we were playing a football match with Koforia sector. And I scored 3 goals that day. So there was no campaign for me.
That was your campaign?
That was my campaign anyway. So they just marched me all the way. And I think when we went to the final, I think we had probably played either Ghana's or one of the Philippine schools. I'm not too sure about that now. And then again I scored, and we won that trophy, that Hackman trophy. And so whilst I was playing, they were voting for me as school prefect.
Whilst you were
in action at the Koforia Sports Stadium, they voted for me. So when I got to school, I think after the match they said, let's pawn him because this is our last time, our last chance to do that. So that's when I got to know I was being elected as the head boy for Pope John. But like I was saying, I tried to combine that, but I made sure that back won't suffer. My academics won't suffer. And one thing that helped my academics was also said that Miko class, I'm very attentive. Because I don't have time to study longer hours. Actually, I don't have the capacity. Even up to the uni, I couldn't study beyond 2 hours. Beyond 2 hours, not my brain to me. I try to say in the lecture room or in the classroom, 60-70% of what the lecturer or the teacher is saying, my grab. I put my note. If you take my notebook and I'm in the classroom, one lecture I heard my true baby because I felt that was my best bet in understanding what it is. I mean, TVS maybe it's a question, and then so just doing 1.5 2 hours is enough for me.
But I was going to ask, say, normally me school days, say more class, sometimes I'm more class, no. Na football is also your training.
Yes.
How were you
Yes.
combining
Okay. And maybe when me answer, I'm probably making why I think we are not getting a lot of the sportsmen
from
our schools.
Okay.
When you go school, like you said, Papa, mommy, school. The primary reason for going to school is to study. But edu maybe then it becomes just difficult because if you have more competition, so you are going to prepare for Madison and all of that, for more games, you know. Yeah. And at the same time, more year class. So in Pope John, for example, at primary school they are grown to it, it's not really a problem. But at secondary school, again, we had one senior house master, the late Sedonko. He was like a father to everybody. He understood sports. He understood what sports would do for everybody. And he always kept telling us, when you are an active sportsman, it translates into wadging. You become very sharp and all of that. So your core, early in the morning, what we were doing was that very early in the morning, 4:35, all the sportsmen are up. By 6 we are done. We go and freshen up near our lecture. And in doing at that lecture room, we are very active. Initially, we corner and all of that. But when you fall into the routine, then you become very fine. Into to me, and he kept on encouraging us. He doesn't want any sportsman to feel or not to do what they blame me. They say, sports in So that was one of the motivations. Say, and truth be told, so me too. Very brilliant people are no more hockey, badminton. Those are they were doing very well until we were not the first group, and now and they will encourage you. Make I say, me seniors class or Johnny at time A-level economics. I say, kind of sure my day, because it cannot just be sports. Now from when you got time A-level economics, but the whole idea was that they were just trying to put it at the back of your mind and say, you cannot come here just because of the sports. But you have to learn. And they kept drumming that home, and I think it helped us a lot. And at the uni too, it's the same thing. One of the reasons why at a point I had to stay away from the junior team of Kotoko was because it was just becoming too difficult. I want to combine it at the end. But that is it. If you had the opportunity to do it, now you're serious with your studies. Now class, now pay attention there. Then you don't need to spend hours behind your book, say, and I think that was what helped me.
Prof, you mentioned Kotoko. I need to get in there. At what point na Kotoko we a year who was in charge then now almost joining Kotoko team?
I might not be able to get the dates right, but Smedendorf.
Okay. And Smedendorf, the German coach. He was the time, no?
He was the coach of Kotoko. And then Pakwesi Fabian was the junior team coach.
Okay.
Usually a whole week in Odi Kotoko under 20 team, no, Eba campus. Okay. So Padro, and then played the school team, KWAME soccer team.
Okay.
So after that, I didn't even know. It was like I said, we were just having fun. School, Unity for any cards for Abidjan, just to give us the morale. We played very well that day. And then after the game, Middendorf calls and says that, young man, if you want to play football, I'm prepared to help you to play football. Okay. But I'll leave the decision to you to make. If you are interested, just let me know. Okay. I thought they were joking. Then the next morning, they sent a vehicle to Unity Hall, my hall, to pick me, to take me to Ridge Semi-Collegiate.
Ridge Park?
Yes. So I went, and that was how it started. Okay. So after training, he would talk to you, encourage you. I followed the team to play a couple of friendly matches, and my teammate Eric Niban was the William Thompson, Agawili, and that was the cohort that I joined.
That junior team.
That junior team, yes. So we played quite some matches, and I think probably maybe around 2000, 2001 thereabout, because my core third year I was in the second year going to the third year. Third year still with them, but at a point now, additional year too much.
Okay.
It was building up because I was going almost finished. And in the planning school, the third year is actually the crust of it.
Okay.
If you miss it, final year is more of preparing you for the outside world. So
for first degree you're planning.
That's right. Until that is where at the point I'm into me. So I told the coaches and said, I can't combine it at this point. I need to spend a bit more time to go through the rudiments of the planning profession, and it involves a lot of studio work. And so that's where it started. But that was a very nice experience that I had with them. And then also, he didn't take kindly to it. I mean, because I think he probably saw something I didn't see, and was encouraging me. He thought that I could do it, and all of that. But that was it. That's how it ended.
So a pressure school planning. You can imagine for those who know how it is. No, say your first degree in planning now, third year now we call final now. Also, combine with Kotoko. Not a difficult. He had to choose academia and over football. It's NMA or separate football or train football in film kakra. But before then, Matisse Gusa Games, OG Gokin 3 times. Tell us a bit more about this experience.
Okay, it's first year. My journey first year Gusa Game. I wasn't a regular for the KWAME team in first year.
Okay.
I only became a regular during the games.
Okay.
I remember when it started, about first year, number 2 seniors or team, just like you probably see in the blaster today. So they are seniors, you have to respect them. So it was like that. We go to training. We had 2. I think the first year it was one coach, Prempe, who was our coach. Later on, we got Coach Edu, who is now JY Edu, who is part of the Kotoko board. He was also one of my coaches.
Okay.
So we were playing, and then we went to, I think the first year was hosted in Legon. And after the first match, I think probably Nakabe 10 or 15 minutes, we were still not scoring. Coach in the same movie. And I scored. And I came and then I scored.
Okay.
And that never even the first match. So subsequently I became a starter.
Okay.
So I think that match we played with, if not Winneba, then UDS. They had one of the goalkeepers who was then the regular for RTU, who was there. So it was in a school team. So it was a bit difficult. So I think it's Winneba. No more those who were doing education. So then I got there. When I scored, he couldn't believe it because he told me subsequently how I managed to score that. And then I became the regular. So against Legon, I scored. I don't remember the number of goals. Then again, in the final 2, so we won the gold there.
Okay.
Then the second year, also, I think it was hosted in K University.
Okay.
We won the gold at that one. I think after the first 2 matches, I think the goalkeeper was backed already.
I see.
Then third year, we had the first West Africa University Games in Legon, and I won the goal king too.
Wow. Okay.
There, so I had a nice souvenir in Kolana Seno. So I was given a golden boot.
Okay.
That was the first that I got, and then I got it again when I was in final year.
Okay.
And it was, like I said, I had a group of players, young men, who were they loved the game, soccer. And again, they were very fine academics. I always say one colleague, our soccer team captain, is a lecturer at Greek engineering.
Okay.
So he just finished his PhD. I'm hoping that we can be, but he was our soccer team. And I used to play coast also in Tema. So I was playing Gapua.
Okay.
They had a young coast team, and that was how I got to know him. And then we all came to Tech. But he was a fine gentleman. So soccer-wise, you had team players. Then there was also my striking partner was called Coleman.
Okay.
He was also a very good guy, but a senior colleague. And so that is how we got it. And because we had coaches who were then, I think, involved with the sports authority, the National Sports Authority. They were coaching the under 15 teams of the regions and all that. So you realized that you were properly coached at that level. So we became very good friends. I remember Legon, the coach then at a point wanted to offer me the opportunity to come and do my postgrad just to play soccer for Legon. I just didn't see why. And I remember this Dr. KWAME Banyako. Okay. He was then very active on Radio University, the campus. Okay. So that was why I also probably liked the way I played. And later on, our path crossed just briefly at Kotoko. But that is how the sports came. And some of my colleagues got the opportunity to get scholarship to go to the US to play soccer and other things. And that is how it all came up. So it's true. Scoring goals was not difficult. I saw football as a science. Honestly, it's an art that has to be. Yes, so you have to craft it. For example, when I always say the football that we play, people always talk about teams like Man City, now Arsenal, Barcelona, and the way they play. For me, it is based on one simple logic. The ball that we are playing or we are chasing is non-living. It doesn't get tired. So you, the one chasing the ball, you get tired. So when you hold on to the ball running around, you get tired. So the best thing is to let the ball do the move. That's right. And then you just make sure that you position yourself and take advantage. And that is, for me, the basic principle of football. So I appreciate teams that play that type of football. And that is so. You have to be smart when you're on the football field. That look, it's not how long you keep the ball that determines how good you are. You have to make sure that it's a team sport, and your ability to find where to stand at any given time, how to position yourself, how to move is what makes the difference. And this, the coaches that I've gone through, they helped me in appreciating that. And I think that is what has made me a good soccer player.
Ubekai players are Unomusia kind whilst growing up from SHS. Omutimico Rise could do Black Stars level, and they could do very top. Ubekai players nibi.
There are two of them. Amekai easily. Michael Essien is one. Michael Essien was playing for St. Augustine's at the time, and then I'm Prof. John. So the Milo final, I think 1996 or so. It was between Pope John and St. Augustine. They won on, I think, penalties or so. He was playing there, and then I was also with the Pope John team. And then Eastern Region, John Pencil also went to the rank to become. We had one Liberian striker, but Johnny has briefly, Dupu Komeni, was my strike partner in Pope John. He was a year ahead of me in Pope John. And then there's this goalkeeper. He's now, I think, a police officer, Sani. Obachima Hasselfolk. He was also Pope John. I think maybe was final year, no, first year, Form 1 or something like that. So these are the players. Me Kaise, almost to me. There were a lot of the Tema boys on the ball. At the coast level, no? On the ball, the 95 Starlet team. Okay. And then the Baba Idrisu and his team, no? And his team, no? You know about Tema Coast boys, and so we're playing the coast together. So then, those people, no more. So when I was playing for Gapoa, no more of them were. Some of the teams and more coast teams in Bebrew. And I was also junior team. That's right. Mates so rise up, Subaya, Afusapia, Ogaga with yes, that's right. And then what's his name? Francis Akwafu. Francis Akwafu, yes. Also, I think say the last Obajoine team, you know, at that stage because I remember no moment I think later maybe don't say you couldn't pick most of them because of but later I growing up who said he was the person that I thought he was but no but the team you know that Niba and William Thompson were normally I say somehow established in the team. That's many matured with teams, with team. So you could see that with them. But that is how it's gone. I mean, the generation that came out from that team, was probably one of the best periods at Kotoko. And that's why I'm hoping say we will go back to the basics. There was one thing that I wish moving on as a country, elsewhere, be a sports are accounted as part of the credit.
School as
a part of the credit. So a medical student no about basketballer, no core games, sports no fan a creditor, a back county. He is like taking a class by playing. But most of the universities, most of the schools don't even have a sports policy. A bit more separatists at the Uba school now, brilliant kakra. Now academic, because the setup now has not made provision for sports. Difficult for you. Combine. But when I have to, my bachelor by 6 years or 4 years civil engineering, and I say pharmacy, doctor of pharmacy. Number be good athlete. The me sports you should count such that I won't spend 8 years or 9 years doing the same program. I should be able to do that same program within the 4 years or the 6 years and go away. Knowing where I say my home. So even November we are having Gusa games. It just happens a vacation. COVID now as a academic calendar and that's a school session. So they will need about 3 weeks to prepare games and then to lectures. How do you make up for the time lost for such students? Said that it will not mean that they are staying 1 more year. So was Penema school 5 years say they won't allow that. So the schools should be able to allow that. And then at time by investing, so we had special quota for sportsmen to come to the university. I don't know whether the universities have scrapped them. Probably the sports also cut down. To secondary schools, those who are doing well in the Milo game, those who are doing well in the athletics, you pin them. They might not get the same grades as the top notch. It's not that they are weak students, but it's because at that level they are combining so many things also. So there should be a mechanism, a searching the system. Again, they give them scholarship. And the scholarship in admission. And if the educational system run it through a sportsman and a sportsman, trust me, they will end up becoming brilliant professionals. And I say you need to be a stubborn boy to play, which should not be the case. And people have not seen that's how come our sportsmen cannot compete at the top. Coach no banner there are certain things he assumes say basic. Now a sportsman you can't even read basic instructions. No matter the skills are all, you can't. And I think Latin American, they have the same problem with us. Just that their first point of entry, countries they speak the same language as them. That's right. Into he picks it, and then whilst there he will pick maybe an English as a language. But all form country among common customers they struggle. And I think that is one way. You found Conco Cancan, Joe and Enco Canfinch, or come back now and that's what can be. They think that you are a difficult person, no will push you out. But young Qualana, or Mutumina opportunity, a course school, a sports, they do very well. So I heard those athletes call Commonwealth Games, you go and check their performance and schools of Mukoy. Who said the schools has offered them the platform to be where they are. The moment they separate education, free sports, then we'll go down, and that's what we have been experiencing over the years. So we need to have a look at that again. Meaning, GES, there have been arguments as to why sports is not featured again on the calendar. Doing an extra 1 hour or 30 minutes will not take away anything. It's rather refreshing them and equip them. It's when you are successful, and that's another problem. If you watch your sportsmen, Some are successful sports now, they become vulnerable, they become poor, they can't do anything. However, say oko school kakra, that's a sports in India one, maybe an injury, be into went to me and because or some form of education, it's difficult for them to change. It's easy for them to change and better find another livelihood. But in that idea, then they become PPB for. And I think it is a whole industry that we are not tapping the value chain. We need to look at that and then see the results that we'll get.
So, like I said, we're having a chat on Chatroom on Bengali TV with Professor Michael Poku Buency. We're running us through the football side, from basic level JHS to Pope John's or Pojo's football to KNUST, Gusa Games, even West Africa Games, Krano, Onyagokin, Hono Munina. Afe young caught the academic side of Professor Michael Poku Buency. Na wachre in how utimi arise you to the level like a nay wadura or KNUST or assistant director at graduate school KNUST former non a head planning department or no a course or first degree or Isaiah ebe head that same department at KNUST. Prof, and chair it was all over in the portals. Professor Michael Poku Buency is the youngest professor at KNUST. How did you do it?
First of all, I would say in life, everybody has a mentor, somebody that they look up to. And one of the problems a young generation is that we are not prepared to be submissive to and learn. I think that is the problem. I joined the department as an academic staff in 2009. But before then, when I finished my first degree, I was a teaching assistant. I was picked as a teaching assistant in the department. And when I joined the department as a teaching assistant, after a year of service, national service, there were three of us, one colleague who's an associate professor in the States now, and then another colleague, Mavis, the department selected us as that they were working on a scholarship for us to go for a further study so that we'll be able to come back and help the department. But for some reason, the whole thing did not go through at the last minute. And then we all were asked to go home. And then when I got home, everybody was disappointed because I had the opportunity to go to Newcastle for my further studies, for my master's. And I wanted to go and do something on transportation planning. I didn't have the opportunity to do that. So I was home when my then HOD, the late Professor Kotoko, called me and said, I've spoken to the Vice Chancellor. The Vice Chancellor says that we can come and buy forms and come. And I think that the late Andam was then the Vice Chancellor, Professor Andam. He had started what they call staff development program in KNUST. So the idea was that let's train a young cohort of people who will take over in terms of teaching and providing that academic leadership for KNUST. So two of my colleagues did not come. Professor Kameni had the opportunity to go to Norway for his master, so he left. And then Mavis also went. So I had to come. So traditionally, the academic year starts in August, September. I joined somewhere late November, December. So I came to enroll because the VC then had given the opportunity for me to come and do it, because even though the academic year had started. So me joining here, then I realized that I was late. So I had to work hard, and it was a 3-year program. So I had to work hard and finish. So we're giving stipends as people who are on scholarship. And then I said, so I got Professor Adakwa, our former Vice Chancellor, Professor Emeritus now, who was my supervisor. So we started the journey. And then along the line, I realized that he was then the Pro Vice Chancellor. He became the Vice Chancellor. So not for any time I had a problem, but I realized that the best time I could get him was late in the evening and early mornings, and and I said, weekend, you go. And I told myself that, look, coming to start an MPhil program year 1, and after year 1 it was converted to a PhD program to continue. So somewhere around December 2007, I had finished my PhD. Okay. So I came in November, December 2004. December 2007 I had finished. I had my viva, and I was the first to finish among the cohorts. Even though I came to meet them, I was the first. I think when I finished, it took, yes, it took them almost about the next cohort, almost about a year, and so almost a program. No? So I finished, and my when the PhD exams is open, so that exams at our lecture hall, everybody was there, my colleagues, and I remember the dean of the graduate school then, Professor Emeritus Edimado, telling them that they should be inspired by what their colleague has done, they can do it and all that. So I finished, and I did my PhD. I finished before I crossed the 30th birthday.
Okay. Who year PhD before
30? Yes.
Wow.
Then
this was in 2007.
Yes, so my 30th birthday was 2008.
Okay. Well, your PhD.
Maybe. Okay. So then I had the opportunity to teach 6 months before maybe officially joining, because I had gone for interview at the college. But then 2008, because my graduation was in June 2008, but there was a freeze on employment. Okay. I think just as IMF programs and IB. So even though them I go to, there was no clearance from the university to employ. So I taught Kakra for almost 6 months without salary. And that's again that one thing I always say young people should learn, that I was never paid. For 6 months, yes, until January 29th, when I got the interview, and then I got my official letter appointing me 3rd February 2009 to start with. And I told myself, say, if you're an academic, then you have to aspire to the top, and the top is to be a professor. Okay. And so you work hard. And remember, I said, Senami was supervisor, who had also risen to the rank to become a professor, a vice chancellor. So there were moments that I me working, but me pass a comment and I can go without food for a day or two. Yeah, you are broken by the comments. To the extent that I got Dr. Bean, who is now in civil, who was an associate of him, to talk to him that he was just being too hard on me. Okay, and he probably doesn't know this, but when I told Dr. Bean to talk to him, I followed Dr. Bean to his house at the VC's residence, and he was telling him that, and what I heard him say was what changed my mind. Okay. But what he said was that, Dan, tell him I don't pity him, and that if he wants me to supervise him, then whatever I can do, he should be able to do it better. So then I saw in the man somebody who was determined to groom somebody or to make, and I was his first PhD student that he graduated also. So you could see that probably he was more motivated to make sure that I finished. To make sure that I finished. So then I finished, and then I started. And make sure I say, when I write my paper, I will go and give it to him. He will look at it. He will give you his comments. You come and sit down and work on it and all of that. So October 2012, I was promoted senior lecturer. Okay. And then by July 2017, August 2017, I was promoted associate professor. Okay. And then 2020, I was also promoted a professor. So in all, it took me for almost 3 years, because probably, I don't know, because ideally it was supposed to be 4, 5, 5. Okay. But along the line, the times change. Okay. For example, my senior lecture was almost 3 years. My associate professor, I served the full 5 years. Okay. And before I finished my associate professor, they had changed the criteria for promotion, which had reduced the duration from 5 to 3, and I was ready, so I applied for it. And the practice has always been, whenever I apply for promotion, in a year and a half or maximum 2 years, the next level is ready. Okay. So spend some sleepless nights just to make sure you work hard, and then when you are ready, the next year or two ahead of you, you just relax so that you don't stress yourself. And that was how the strategy I adopted. And I was not shy to share my work and I'm so I'll give it to colleagues, look at it, give me feedback and all of that, and it helped me a lot. Teaching our students always assess Asante, you know, but research work and only publication and then the major difficulty, and you also have to aim for what in academia a high impact journals be on what you work in the queen the publisher, but mostly we call them predatory any papa we mistake we are home working in but if you target the grade A journals now, you might not get some of them, but sometimes you get useful feedback to help you improve your work, and then you move again, and that is what has helped me. So I had a very good mentor, and I had a lot of support from my colleagues and the department. I joined the department and I became a head of department when more than half of the staff taught me, and the other half, I think Senipa 2 years senior to them. They were all seniors to me. It's not difficult for me, but like I said, how to manage it. You'll be fine. I still call them seniors. So even though that calendar or ladder, no, I'm a senior, no. They need seniors. They need any other things because there are some of the things that they have gained over the years. So it's so able to learn that from them. And if you do that, it helps you as you navigate the journey. And that is how so it took me a relatively short period. Where I go to, people usually even retire in Osaka, and also in the challenges, but what I did is not unique. Maybe a contest is unique, but elsewhere, somebody 30, 35 years, 40 years. I became a professor at age 38, 39, and I became a full professor at age 41 or something like that. So that is how it is. And you can put them in, I'm the youngest, maybe I was not targeting that. I didn't even know that. I felt that you're academic, you have to give in your all, and that precisely that was what I was doing. And like I said, I had people that also guiding me. I showed crying and all of that.
So that is the story of Professor Michael Buency. Offer the academic side, and so no kind of kind Thomas Umpe the planning department overhead and was more than 50% of staff now honor now more young for or no bar as a student or much than paying. All my canoes are crying, only a few and are now or no a chain or more as in the rank, but overhead or more interesting. So having a chat with Prof. Michael Poku Buency, who is Assistant Director, Graduate School, KNUST, former Planning Department Head, and then in exchange Komo, and our chat room with Benghazi, our Bengali TV, our YouTube. When subscribe, please do. The Obayane say button there where see how natural subscribe no click so. Afi bell be an adoma, our in chain click and also send a you post any content, our ha, open notification now with me. I be share now or pick some lessons and now pick your baby dear frame. You be with chat with Prof no. Prof now okay in name who are there back running through all of them. Primary, JHS sorry, secondary, afi uni level, afi Jumamukura leadership. Prefect from senior high school days, Pojos, you were prefect at Pojos. Oba started at Jumain, even planning department. Ipano ane hono, bebrena na omo wanim, omo ebi kwa chire wade, but open head omo. Eka say na graduate school, deputy and assistant director. Honum. What is it about Prof leadership? And I said, Ebana saying, how did you do it? Say what to me, I carry on home very well at a very young age. Now to me, it didn't name the way I would deal with this happens way.
Okay. First of all, the mechanic say a be grace, you don't control that. When he gives you a responsibility or he obesan guide you, if you avail yourself, that I don't take it for granted. Say, I always tell my colleagues and say, I see leadership as a calling. Okay, so when it as a calling, you will not succeed. So I always tell people, say, if I will end up being like any other leader, then I don't want to be a leader. You have to be a leader. You make a difference. Make the department. I can start from there. When I became a head of department when I didn't expect to be a head of department. And so when I was appointed head of department, I had to find a way to engage the seniors in our department. And remember, yesterday conversation I make actually say, one problem our young people of today, to me, and appreciate it, how to give respect to the elderly in them. It's a DNA. When you are respectful, it doesn't really take anything away from you. I didn't share the bro. So it started that way. Me call Monasi, and I became a head of department when there was a former vice chancellor in my department. There were past HODs. There was a provost in one college. I know from my department. So I call Monasi. So, and even my colleagues, I remember I can say, "Baby, Nana, I'm from our office. I'll come there." I didn't feel like you should come to the department office because we are HOD, And when you relate with people that way, they are honest with you. They will tell you problems, weaknesses, and if any idea comes up, I ask everything. Your meetings as a chair of the departmental board, you realize that you allow people to express themselves because when you're discussing idea, by the time we're meeting, you have a refined idea. You need to be a bit of ambitious, Kaka. So I always tell people that as a leader, there are moments you have to lie down and dream. You cannot just wake up every morning and think that things will go the way it should be. You have to dream, and that's what people call a vision in my department. And so after every day's work, I lie down and ask myself, what didn't I do well? What needs to be done? And so you need to spend a bit more time to think about a type of person. And sometimes I can sit and do my writing, writing. And then person will tell me, try them and say, Ben, my try we can you have a look at it. When you do that, people see, say, we are committed to something. But what to do when you're careful and nothing is done. So that is precisely how I've handled the leadership responsibility of the Amami.
Fantastic. And community we now but time so quite echo. Miana come nafa fabulous kakra. Asante when see a kind name you with the Kotoko team there, but also support pa year on fa in the agro. Okay, saying now so 2 idea back home. Or can you be the grace? Nyame adom the mouth were very religious. Minyanka meko kakra, but time ne allow it. But kakra the baby fabulous. Kakra when you fan sorry so. Went to me and see a kind of na coach made up in Yanka or join a team and see a kind. But or don't there a hopper ye me ama take a cram kakra. Kotoko ushimu pay ye. Sa or don't free him from fabulous dono.
I'm saying Papa.
Also, yeah.
I think say on the that support, because growing up, I'm say anything has to folk no in terms of issue grew up to be like that. So Rebecca, the joking is what number? I'm a platinum supporter of Kotoko. So, but what I can say is Kotoko said they was school when we were at the uni. I remember much better me the unfortunate incident is we were supposed to the main night. My mom thought I was there.
Okay. Wow.
And we almost
went to
we've always been like that. But if you can put a Kotoko support team, because we love the team. It's for me a opportunity. I can say an institution, it can transform the whole of Kumasi, probably even the Asante region. Okay, just that for some reason, maybe I always say the team has been its own enemy in terms of how people or supporters sometimes some will be heavy. And even those who have held leadership position, also who have a long time, I say, Obi Fisu no be bad. There's so much animosity in my team, no, and Koso. So, being lectures in our campus, we have a platform. I'm saying close to about 60 or 70 of diverse professional backgrounds. You discuss Kotoko, how we can make contributions, how we can, in terms of maybe not financial, how we can intellectually provide support. I remember people are more concerned way about people not supporting teams, no one stadium, and I've said, look, there's always a reason for people's action. If you don't understand it, you can't intervene. Make I say through that option to my platform and say, look, we are prepared to help the club do a serious study to understand why people don't come to stadiums. Because you see, Obi at radio, so I see more radio presenters na maka foreign news is an Kofumba. And there's the DS cable networks into Obi and banning all of that. Fine, but Obi so Obi should blame teams in performance and other things. But Obi and even in sense so. Exactly what the reasons are. Yes, whatever intervention I be put in place via ad hoc. It's just like a product you are selling. I say nipano, or clientele knows what you must say what exactly they want, and you then design a solution for them. And to me, feel say we are not in this cardiac idea because attendance and good, and elsewhere it is the main source of revenue for most of the clubs. Even if you get sponsorship tied to that, so it's one area I hope we say we will be able to reach out to the management and then see how you able to make a boom na Kotoko supporters na almost Ember Stadium. Exactly what they want to see, and then if it will call for 2 years, 3 years, 4-year plan, maybe a plan, and so you don't just jump into something. You plan something and gradually execute it. You may get the results that we want to look at. In team media, we really support the team. Whatever I support it, and that's what we want to do. For example, your architects, your engineers, all the business chaps in our business school, very active people that you can say and drafted a 10-year plan for Kotoko. It is something we can do at no cost for the club. Nanaya and his management extremely, good things. But you see, the whole setup of Kotoko, especially with the way people take delight to be failure. Even team people I say rejoice. These are major obstacles. No matter how fine your ideas are, we face those obstacles. But he needs to be encouraged. He needs to be encouraged. He needs to, or a lot of ideas, but those ideas need to be put down, and then put realistic timelines, put resources here to get it done, and then you move. So that on one can be, and if it's not there, the club should be able to run. Any major corporate organization be a year worth its source. I was sad in a guide. Or mind be one in the national development plan will follow. You cannot just wake up and just get things done the way it is. Until we want to engage them to have that, and then see how it goes. 3 years, 4 years, really. What we can do in the short term, what we can do in the medium term, what we can do in the long term. That's what I can say.
Thank you very much. And come on, Dawson, but I will say to me, Esiha, into Prof. Medasipe, yes, a tonsa, a fro now, or you penny now invite you about fee and only a train come or life, academic life, and or sporting side of life. And say that's it, Prof. And so only a drink come Bengali TV. So that's it. Our chat with Professor Michael Poku Buency, Assistant Director at Graduate School, KNUST, former Head of Department Planning, KNUST, NNA, Adrian Komwe. Yadamase, one subscriber, please do on this channel. Thank you very much.